My name is Stephanie Strub. It's spelled S-T-R-U-B. And just wanted to take something that Christina pointed out, which was the quote that she highlighted, in which National Grid has stated we are very, I forget what exactly it was, but comfortable with managing toxic materials. And that kind of answers the first question I had, which was, don't you do this like all the time? Doesn't like this site remediation, it seems like this must be something you guys have to deal with a lot. Would you say that's true?
We've been studying this property itself for the past 30 years, so we understand the property very well and understand how to handle soil and groundwater on this property.
Okay, but I mean, like, as a corporation, like throughout its history, you know, throughout where it does business in this country, is this a frequent sort of happening that you have to do this site remediation?
We do have other sites throughout New England that we do that are similar to this one. So we have an environmental department that does handle this type of work. Okay,
that's about what I expected. So that would lead to my next question, which would be, and this question is coming from someone who has worked as a contractor for the EPA Superfund project. So it seems to me like, wouldn't this get really expensive? And kind of the follow-up to that is, where does the money come from to pay for that?
The cost of this work is incorporated into the cost of the overall project.
Okay, but then what pays for the project? That's kind of where I was going. Is this just kind of...
If you have specific questions on the liquefaction project, I encourage you to visit the Fields Point Liquefaction website.
Yeah,
and tonight we're here to talk about the projects.
All right, well, then enough questions. So I heard it in the audience. It gets rolled over to the ratepayers. That this is just kind of the cost of doing business, and the money's got to come from somewhere. Where does it come from if not the ratepayers? And the other, sorry, I kind of lost where I was going with that, but it just seems kind of ridiculous to me that, right now, when, as many of us probably know, renewables are cheaper than they've ever been. They're now cheaper than fossil fuels to produce. It seems to me, like, from a money standpoint, that the iron is hot. Now's the time for corporations like National Grid to strike and begin to adapt to the changing market. Corporations, as well as individuals, are preferring clean, renewable sources of energy. One would think that National Grid would want to expand and really invest in these other sources of energy instead of continuing with these projects that are very dirty, that require a lot of money put into cleanup and that sort of thing. And so I'm just kind of, this is rhetorical, you don't have to answer this question, but it's just very curious to me that they're just charging ahead with the same old, and like maybe National Grid is doing some investments in renewables, but it's like what was said over at microphone one, I can't remember that woman's name, but like if we are going to survive as a species, as a population, we have to knock this off with the fossil fuels, and we've got to do it now. The problem with building more infrastructure for fossil fuels is that that's a long-term commitment. We're stuck with it when we could be building different infrastructure for different, better technologies that are becoming more and more efficient all the time. And thank you. And it's just sort of like, this is sort of the trick that National Grid is sort of getting away with for now, to kind of buy themselves a little time to figure out if they have another trick in their bag, 10, 20 years down the road or what have you. Well, I don't know what they think they're going to do at that point. It's going to be, like we all knew Kodak was like the big name in cameras and film. Who's bought a Kodak camera in the past 10 years? They've become irrelevant because they didn't adapt. And if National Grid fails to adapt in this way that follows what's happening in the market and with the technology, they are also going to become irrelevant. It's going to become a problem down the road. So this is expensive now. It's going to be a bigger problem for you guys later. And I'm just not seeing the long-term reasons for doing any of this. The LNG or this sort of slapdash cleanup that you have proposed. And just, as someone who is from Pennsylvania and who has seen the decline of, you know, what happens in a community where this gas is being fracked, and then moving to Rhode Island and seeing, you know, the pattern of our so-called leaders, you know, making deals with corporations that sell out the people, you know, to make, you know, causing them to bear the brunt of the negative impacts of poor business decisions being made by billionaires. And I'm just done with it. So thank you for your time.